Welcome back. This is the week we miss another great week. I don't think I'm going to be too negative or thinking the world's going to end this time. Just craziness this time. So getting right back into it. What am I going to talk about? Velma is a lesbian now. Who's Velma? From Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Now, here's what blows my mind, or first thing that's confusing, and then we'll hear from you. When I had sex with a cartoon stuffed animal, it was called being a plushie. Why is it all of a sudden a lesbian? I don't really get it. But
whoa, is she having sex with stuffed animals? What are you implying is happening?
But she's a cartoon. Like like I don't know why cartoons have to have genders. That's just like a little bit wild to me, like that we even care. It would make more sense, and like I feel like I come across like I'm this from the right person, but I'm actually like I've never voted for the right ever. I've always voted for the left. I do vote too. A lot of people be like, oh, well, you don't vote. No, I vote. I voted for the left every time. I think we should be able to question things though and be like, hey, what is this? Or that's a little weird. So I just want to preface that, because whatever I say, people always go, oh, you sound like a Trumper. No. And that's also bothersome that you can't say anything in opposition to someone without them just automatically calling you a Trumper. I'm not a Trumper. Trump's an idiot. But why does it matter if Velma is a lesbian or not? I didn't relate with her before. I don't relate with her now. I wouldn't relate with her if she was Jewish. I wouldn't relate with her if she was Jewish with red hair. It's a cartoon. It doesn't matter to me. It's a character. Now, here's where I would say maybe this would make more of a difference. If we make a new cartoon and the new cartoon comes out as being gay, that makes a lot more sense. You started off from the beginning. But why are we going back and rewriting things into old storylines? It just seems weird to me. Now, this is another thing. It's actually kind of unrelated, but another thing where like people from hear me comment and they're going to be like, oh, you're just a MAGA supporter, righty. Nope, never supported the right ever. But I do think it was a little weird that Lizzo was playing the flute and everyone went crazy with it. Now, here's the thing. I brought up a point that literally no one brought up and no one mentioned. And when I brought the point up, I think I'm on like Facebook ban, so no one sees any of my posts anymore. But no one even commented. Maybe it's because I'm banned, or maybe it's because like no one really has an answer. Here's what's super confusing to me. 2 years ago, we were slamming statues down because they were slave owners. James Madison was a slave owner. He was a bad one at that. He wasn't even one of the good ones. Like George Washington, they're like, no, but George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, they're like, oh, they might have treated their slaves better or something, or like it's questionable if they even had them or probably at the time. No, James Madison was like for slavery. So why all of a sudden is it smash any statues of slave owners, but praise their instruments, and let's use their instruments and be like it's a good thing? That's what was confusing to me. I could care less what Lizzo does. I'm not a fan of her, but I don't care what she does. I just thought it was super interesting that she's playing a flute of a slave owner when we're trying to cancel slave owners. That's what was crazy to me. Twerk all you want, stick it up your pussy, whatever. But you got to call it what it is.
Oh God, Jimmy, you've thrown a fucking a lot out at me right now. So I'm gonna take it in the order with which it was presented. So number one, all this shit about like making the Little Mermaid black and making Velma a lesbian, and it's like it is the dumbest part of the culture war. Like it is dumb. Like, you know, look, the people disagreeing about abortion, that is like a real policy that has real world impacts that people on the right and people on the left disagree with. Like it's a completely valid thing to be discussing and to get worked up about. This idea that, and I think it's like the only people that are getting upset about like a black Little Mermaid are like the dumbest people on earth. And like no one I know, and I run in a lot of like right-leaning circles, no one gives a shit. I don't care. It's a fictional character. I do not care. If anything, the people that are probably the most upset by it are probably like those weird Disney adults, like the adults who are super into Disney and they're like, well, the Little Mermaid actually has red hair and da 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 da, and this is inaccurate to canon and blah blah blah.
I also think there's more people saying that the right is mad at it than there actually are the right being mad at it. I don't think people actually really cared too much. Or if someone did care, they're like, oh, that's dumb. They don't really care. They just think it's dumb. I think there's like a difference between that.
No, what's the thing I think is dumb? It's like, who cares? Like, why are you making a big deal of it? I don't give a shit. Make her Palestinian, make her fucking Chinese. Honestly, they should be making the Little Mermaid Chinese. They should be making all characters Chinese because that would just help them sell so much more.
That's a great point, because actually a lot of movies the last few years have actually been banned in China. Just read an article about it, because like Avatar broke records for revenue whenever it came out 15 years ago. There's people who don't think that Avatar is going to be allowed in China as of late based on all the censorship they've been doing. The Marvel movies and like superhero movies are all banned there, and like hurt revenue a lot. China's a huge market. So I kind of agree with that. Play in the Chinese market, make it so that they're going to worship our stuff. That would be a smart move.
But I think the thing that I want to sort of expand on that you brought up is like this whole thing where like people on the left are like, oh my God, these MAGA idiots are going nuts over this. And most people are like, no, we don't really care. It's a bunch of idiots on Twitter that are being like, this is an insult and the Little Mermaid's not black. And it's like, well, you're dumb. And I think it's so funny because I feel like, and I'm sure both sides do this, but I just see it more because it's on the right. And like the biggest thing that I see all the time, it's these people that like aren't Christians, they're proudly atheists, they're crazy leftists, and they like tweet out photos of like, if Jesus was real, this is what he looked like. And it's like an Arab dude with like brown eyes and brown skin. And it's like, yeah, no shit. It's like, you know what? Like, and yeah, guess what? He was a Jew too. And you know what? Christians don't care. None of us care. Like,
it doesn't matter.
It's hilarious. They're like, you're going to be so upset if Jesus returns and he looks like this. And we're like, no, he won't. We literally would not care at all because we're not idiots. And we understand that if he was real and if he lived where he did at the time he did, he probably looked like that. He probably looked like a dark-skinned Sephardic Jew.
Yeah.
Who cares? That's what he was.
I don't understand why we argue about it. You're completely right. It makes no sense.
No, it's just so silly, and it's just like the dumbest way to try to like own someone. But then onto the Lizzo thing again. I think this is such a dumb like made up controversy. Like I think it's cool because like I didn't know flutes could be made out of crystal. Like, look, props to Lizzo for me for being like, hey, I learned something from this. And I think again, the controversy and people being upset over it is like ridiculous. I do think, and this is like my like uptight part of my personality, but it's like, look, I don't get the hype around her. She's obviously, I know she's a very talented flautist. I know she's an incredibly talented musician and obviously successful performer. But like, if you're going to be in the Library of Congress or doing this, like put on some goddamn clothes. Like, I'm sorry. Like, just like, look, if you want to dress like that when you're on, doing your performances or doing something at the VMAs, fine. But like, have some decorum and like have some respect. Look, put on a nice dress and still twerk. I really don't care. But it's just like, I'm sorry. And
that's why I said I'm cool with her sticking it up her pussy. I don't really care about that. I just think it's interesting no one brought up that she's playing something from a slave owner. Like, did you hear that at all?
Yes, actually, I have. And I think the way people brought it up, it's like, it's almost like she was sort of reclaiming this thing from someone who was like so against what she represents. And it was almost sort of like the people, and there were stupid people who were like, she's like canceling out the negative energy of James Madison and his slave owning history. And it's like, all right, I don't know about all that, but like, and again, it's like people on either side that are assigning, like, to me, what it was a cool, like, historical thing. I think it did show that I love history, and props to Lizzo for what she said about being like, look, history is cool. Like, history is really fucking cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff in history. And it's like, I just remember being in school and people being like hating history class and being like, well, why do we have to learn this? This is so dumb. And it's like, you don't understand it. Like, history is the key to the future. And it's like,
history is awesome. It's the teachers don't present it the best way, but it's fucking cool. One of the things that got me most interested in VR was I saw the founder of Oculus speak, and this is like 10 years ago, before VR was like even really accessible. And he was like, no, this is going to revolutionize the classroom. He's like, instead of reading about George Washington, you're going to go meet him and you're going to interview him and you're going to watch him in the battlefield and you're going to be immersed in history. And it's like, yo, history is super cool when it's presented the right way, in movies, in museums, good teachers who like dress up like they're in the Civil War and like reenact things and all that. That's when history is cool. It's just most people get a very dry ass version of it from their teacher who says, read this book, tell me about it. That's boring. But that's not history. That's just boring.
Yeah, and real quick on the don't need to go like again with the Velma thing. The funniest tweet I saw, because I used to be a big Scooby-Doo fan, and like someone tweeted, and it's a guy on the right, and he just tweeted out, he goes, I thought we all knew Velma was a lesbian, because like that was always the joke, is that like she's sort of like the
exactly
more masculine one. And it's like everyone, like that was sort of the thought within like Scooby-Doo lore. It's like, yeah, Velma's a lesbian, obviously. Like,
exactly. Well, here I'm curious now too. Are they going to come out as stoners? Because that's another thing that they allude to, but they don't actually say it. Part of what's fun about some shows is that they allude to things and you get to guess and make it up.
It's like it becomes less funny when it's just like, hey, Scooby, hand me that blunt. And it's like, that's not funny. It's like when they come stumbling out of the mystery machine though, and it's all smoky, and then they're, eating Scooby snacks. It's like, all right, that's sort of funny because it's like a wink and a nod and like a, hey, you get what we're doing here.
And it's supposed to be something I think that can be good for kids and be funny for parents or adults as well at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
So like, there's a reason they did that back in the day. I'm not saying kids should be sheltered from being from gay people, but it's like, I don't know, it's just a more advanced topic that maybe is good a little bit separate. And as a kid gets older, and when a kid reaches 14, 15 years old, they kind of make the connection, and then they go, oh, wow, I didn't realize Velma's actually gay. Now they know from when they're 3 years old. I don't know. What's the benefit of that? I don't care, again, that she's gay. I just think it's weird that they're so emphasized on this. But actually, I completely forgot. The biggest thing of the culture war this week, I can't believe I didn't think of it when I was thinking of what we want to talk about. White Lives Matter.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I think Kanye is a wild guy. I love Black people. I think all Black lives are matter just as much as any other lives. And I realize that, yeah, Black people in America probably do need more support or more eyes on it to help the cause, because there does seem to be a problem. But with that being said, Black Lives Matter, the organization, was a fraud, was a scam.
Yep.
Multiple times over. They stole money for the founders. They stole money for something else. There's multiple things that have come out the last couple of years that aren't disputed. They're like factual, that there's many aspects of Black Lives Matter that were scammy and fraudy. What did Kanye say with the White Lives Matter? He said, this is the official end of Black Lives Matter, the organization, because it was a scam. I don't disagree with that. Yeah. And I think it's interesting. Saying White Lives Matter is definitely provocative. You're going to get people off, whatever. Making Black models wear it, even wilder. But at the end of the day, why is no one addressing that Black Lives Matter is a scam? Because what he's saying has some substance to it. It shouldn't just be ignored. They stole money. They preyed on people who want to help and took their money. That's a bad organization. That doesn't mean we don't support Black people anymore. Doesn't mean we should still try and help equality in America and bridge the gap. But it does mean that organization was a fraud.
Yeah, no, and I think it definitely has been getting discussed, and even people on the left have written articles about basically being like how much of a grift this was. And I think to a larger point, like, look, I've done a lot of work with nonprofits in my day, and the thing I know is that before you start shoveling money at someone, you need to look into their organization and understand what they're actually doing. And it's like this is why, like, whenever they ask me at like Target or CVS, like, do you want to donate $1 to such and such fund I've never heard of? It's like, no, I don't, because I have no idea where that money's going. And also, if I'm going to give money, I'm going to give it directly. I'm not going to give $1 to CVS so that CVS gets a fucking tax write-off for shoveling $1 at someone. Like, no, I will do my own research and I will put my money where I think it's going to have the biggest impact. And I think that it's almost sort of funny because I feel like, while what they're doing is shady, I think it'll almost like, I almost feel like their defense is going to end up being like, well, we never said what we were going to do with the money, so how are we defrauding anyone? It's almost this thing where it's like, yeah, we just created an organization and you idiots just started cutting checks and sending us money, and we were making vague promises about helping a community, and it's too tough. Yeah, we helped some people that are Black, us. It's,
that's a good point.
I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how the whole thing plays out. But again, like, this is such a wider thing. Like, look, and on the right side, you have like Steve Bannon's weird, like, build the wall thing that is the exact same thing. It was a goddamn grift. It was taking money from people that are not that smart. And I think it was Mark Twain who said it was the quote something along the lines of, an idiot and his money will be quickly parted, or something like that. And it's like, it's so true. Yep. It's true when it comes to nonprofits. It's true when it comes to shitty real estate deals. It's true when it comes to pretty much every aspect of life. Like, people need to do more due diligence and understand what they're donating towards. And frankly, if people feel like they got ripped off, I don't care. You earned this. You did zero due diligence. You donated money to an organization that barely existed, and in terms of its timeline, had not really done much. And you started throwing money at them. Like, honestly, I don't even really blame them. Like, it's like, okay, you got a lot of money. You're going to make some ways to make it benefit yourself.
Yeah,
of course, it's a shady act, but it's a completely sort of understandable and like rational decision for them to make, especially if they're going to be able to get away with it.
Yeah, I think that is a great point, because I addressed it when it was happening. A lot of people seem to ignore it, like when I questioned them directly, but I kept saying, what is this for? Where's the money go to? Or even more broadly, I was cool with is, what's the goal of Black Lives Matter? And like, I think when it first came out, people started saying like, yo, what's the goals? We don't even really know what the goals are. And then like a few weeks into it, they wrote like a page on their website of their goals, and it was super broad. It was like, to help the Black community or something. And it's like, yo, that's not specific. Like, is money going to go towards the bailout fund? Is money going to go towards building homes for the needy? Is it going to go towards food security, whatever? It was super broad. And I think you're completely right, is when we're not caring about where the money is going for, of course that's what they're going to do. It kind of makes sense.
And I also just want to draw a distinction. So it's Black Lives Matter is an interesting thing, because the organization that is sort of shady is like the national, like global Black Lives Matter, like the big sort of umbrella organization. There are a lot of like smaller independent Black Lives Matter chapters in cities that are actually doing good work. And the shitty thing is that if not for this sort of fraudulent, larger, more prevalent group, those organizations would probably be getting more money that are actually putting money into communities and actually doing work. And one of the most disgusting parts of it is, and I don't know all the exact sort of players, but one of the people who brought a lawsuit against them was a member of, I think, one of these other Black Lives Matter organizations, like a Black woman, I believe, brought a civil suit against the umbrella organization. And one of like the founders or one of the leaders released some statement that it's like, it's sad to see we're being attacked by our own people that are using like the white supremacist judicial system to come at us. And it's like, yo, bro, like, that's gross. That is fucking disgusting. Like, take some responsibility for what you did. Or, I mean, it's so disgusting. And I feel bad for the people that are actually doing good work for these communities and that are being lumped in with these shady people who are just enriching themselves. Like, it sucks. It really, really sucks. And it's unfortunate because it is hindering what is a very good and worthwhile movement. It is not helping. Like, it is, and not is it just not helping, it is actively harming these efforts. And I think it's really, really unfortunate, but it's not really surprising, because there's so much BS that goes on with these types of organizations of all types and all spectrums, and non-political ones and political ones. So it's just wild. But it's crazy.
It's crazy. So that's the week in culture wars, not the end of the world. It's not fun, it's wild, but at least it's we're gonna live. So what do you got for us
Well, with pending nuclear war in Ukraine, possibly, but we're all
So
thinking about.
we are getting into the end of the
Well,
world.
no, we're talking about something that actually is the end of the world, and that is that Elon Musk actually might be buying Twitter, and people are losing their ever-loving minds. And
Wait,
it is.
do you think that's related to his poll about the nuclear
I actually
war?
was just listening to a podcast where they brought up that he thinks that might have been a tipping point for him to sort of go through with it. And I think it's wild. Like I think the guy who worked for like Politico or maybe the New York Times, and he's like, this is a big deal. Like if Elon Musk is able to acquire this, and if it happens before the midterm elections, it could have an impact on the midterm elections. And I just want to be like, yo, bro, you're sort of telling on yourself, because what you're saying right now is that basically that Twitter is controlling a narrative in a way that can impact the elections. You're just upset that if Musk owns it, it's going to maybe go away you don't like. So it's like, wait, it's like, yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, you just revealed exactly what we all sort of knew was true. But yeah.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, I'm interested to see what happens because I don't know enough, and like I read some articles, and I'll be honest, I don't exactly understand what they're saying sometimes, but it seems like there's definitely a government arm in Twitter, similarly to how they're in Facebook, and that they kind of approve what gets put out and what doesn't get put out. And Elon Musk taking control will make it so that that arm isn't in there anymore and can't promote what they want or put out what they want. So that is wild. It's weird that, or interesting that people think that's bad, because really it's just making free speech and making it so people aren't kind of telling you what to think, because that's what's happening. People think that they have a free mind. No, if you're on the internet enough on certain sites, they're going to make you think a certain way. They like, there's a science behind it. No matter how smart you are, they're impacting how you think. So with that gone is it's not a bad thing.
No, and I think I don't know, it'd be really interesting to see. Like honestly, I feel like the right way to run a platform like that would basically be like, here are the 10 very simple rules of conduct on here. These words are banned. Look, if you want to ban racial slurs, fine, go for it, go nuts. But like, it's like if you are putting out, because the thing is, especially with COVID, it's like when people were tweeting about like these vaccines don't necessarily prevent reinfection, there were so many people banned for that. And then fast forward 2 weeks, well, turns out they were right. And those people weren't given their accounts back. Like they weren't brought back. And so it's like, look, because and people I feel like don't understand this, and they really don't wrap their mind around it, because people will be like, well, the First Amendment exists, but hate speech isn't protected by it. And it goes, actually, no, it is. Yes, it is. Like you can say hateful, disgusting things. You can even lie. Lying is protected speech. Now, there are certain types of lies. If you lie about someone, that can be defamation or potentially get you in trouble for libel, but you can lie. Like Alex Jones, for as nutty as he is, him saying that like, the Newtown school massacre was like a black flag operation, that is protected speech.
Well,
now, once he started getting into
violent, if it incites violence, that's when it's not allowed.
Well, and it's actually really interesting. You've heard the classic thing about you can't shout fire in a crowded theater. That's completely that precedent has been overturned. And two, do you know the origins of that case?
No.
Most people don't. It was actually brought by the government against a group of, I believe, it was a Jewish organization that was protesting protesting America getting involved in the First World War. So the government said that this organization that is anti-war and trying to get us to not go into war is creating such a dangerous environment that their speech should be restricted. That is the origins of this. It wasn't someone going and saying, I want to burn down a crowded theater or go kill that guy over there. It was literally an anti-war organization exercising their First Amendment right to say, we should not be in this war. And you know what? People can disagree with that, but that's a totally valid thing. And so, and I forget when, but anytime anyone ever cites you can't shout fire in a crowded theater, they are wrong. That precedent has been overturned. It is not true, and it has been modified. And also the origins of that are super, super grimy and weird. And it was in a day and age when the government was overreaching and was prosecuting American citizens for things that they shouldn't have been prosecuting them for. So it's, like, look, free speech isn't nice all the time, but you have people in Europe that are being thrown in prison for Facebook posts that are
Mhm.
doing real time. And you know what? I will trade people getting their feelings hurt so that people can post on Twitter or Facebook in America without looking at the inside of a jail cell. Now, that's
Yeah.
not to say you can get canceled, you can get socially ostracized. And if you want to have controversial opinions, that is your own business. And if that means that you can't get a job, that's not you being oppressed. That's not your free speech rights being violated. That's you facing consequences.
Right.
So, you can't have it both ways. But so I think, hopefully, with Musk, I don't know. I think it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. And actually, I haven't read the article yet, but I just saw a headline that even though he agreed to buy it, apparently this trial is going to still move forward. And the judge is like, well, I don't know what you guys.
Why is that?
Because I guess it's already in motion. And the judge is basically like, well, you haven't done anything to like end this legal action. Like you guys, like your business agreement does not invalidate this legal proceeding that has been started. And this is a weird thing. It's like this weird Delaware chancellery court. I'm not sure like how it works, but I know it's probably like a little bit different than like the traditional and sort of like more mainstream legal system. So it'll be interesting because apparently he's going to end up getting deposed tomorrow, which also is
I heard that's why he was doing this a little.
that was another reason he didn't want to get deposed potentially.
Right.
I'm sure, most people don't want to be deposed.
Yeah, that's interesting that they're still going through with it.
I think, well, and it's like they could do something last minute to avert it. I mean, it could be that, judges typically don't like being disrespected. So she could basically view this as like hey, assholes, you forget, like, you're both billion-dollar people, but like, I run this shit right now and you're in my courtroom and you guys don't get to just assume the trial is off. So this could be her just like slapping them a little bit and being like, hey, you got to come here and like ask me to dismiss this or tell me it's over or file the right paperwork because there is a process that you guys started and it's not over until I say it's over.
Right.
So I think it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Do you think he's gonna buy Twitter when it all is said and done?
I think he will. I think
you think Twitter's gonna be better?
I don't know. I mean, it's such a cesspool right now, and already like I fail to see how it could get worse. I think.
What do you mean worse? Cesspools are awesome.
But I don't know. I think many people will think it's worse. But I think many people, it's like, look, just because you no longer have your bubble of echo chamber and people can come at you and be mean to you because you're sort of being an asshole to them. No, I don't think that makes it worse. I think it makes it more of an even playing field. But I have no idea. I mean, look, Elon Musk is like he's a big question mark. Like anyone who thinks they know what he's going to do is wrong. Like he's just sort of, he's an unknown quantity, so it could go any number of ways.
In 1 year, will Twitter have more users or less users?
More
if
for no other reason. So assuming Musk buys it, because he's going to unban a fuck ton of people. And look, let's all be real. Trump has said he will not come back to Twitter, but there's no way he could stay away. And when that motherfucker gets back on Twitter, it is going to make people go insane. And I am here for it. And I cannot wait to watch the freakouts. Like, it will be bananas. It'll be nuts. He'll be like the Kool-Aid man just busting through the wall.
Yeah. Trump as the Kool-Aid man. That's actually pretty funny just to think of it and stuff. But something I heard about Trump, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent. This is my last thing. But I didn't hear about this till yesterday. I think it's kind of funny. It's par for the course for him. No pun intended with par for the course. But did you hear about where Ivana is buried?
No.
Dude, he buried her at the first hole of his golf course in New Jersey. It's it's a mound of dirt. It's like the most ridiculous plaque or whatever. Like, you'd think she'd have a little bit more. It's like a little mound of dirt. Ivan Trump, guess why he did it?
Why?
Because he gets a tax break if he can say the golf course dual acts as a cemetery.
Oh my God.
How crazy is that? I couldn't believe it. I
can't even. I don't.
10 years ago, that would have been huge news, but there's so much news now that like I didn't even see that. That happened 3 months ago. I didn't see anything of it. I just heard of that yesterday. I researched.
That's true.
It's true, dude. It's true. It's crazy. Wow. Dude is wild. Dude is wild. Ridiculous. But yeah, you think like the
Holy
mother,
shit. She's
the
been
mother of
buried
your
at
kids.
the Trump National Golf Course. Wait, hold on. Oh, so I'm seeing another headline. I'm just Googling. It says Ivana Trump is not buried at a golf course for tax reasons. So maybe we'll circle back on a little update on this because I'm just super intrigued by this.
Yeah. Do you see a picture of the cemetery or the mound?
No, hold on. Let me try to.
It's not.
Oh my God, that's it?
Yeah, I feel so
Jesus.
bad.
Wait, because
And
that's the mom of like all the main
Ivanka,
kids, right?
Ivanka and Donnie Jr.
Like they must have thoughts about that, right? They must be like, yo, dad, can mom get like, an actual headstone? Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if these people are real people. Like it doesn't seem like it. I don't know how they go through stuff like this. It's
oh my God. Can you imagine what Trump's grave is going to look like when he dies? It's going to be like a solid gold pyramid.
Yeah, probably will be. And
Oh
I mean
man.
that's actually just something interesting to think about. When he dies, dude, that grave is gonna be like disputed land.
Well, it's gonna be, first of all, it'll have 24/7. Like I feel like he's gonna literally liquidate the entire Trump organization and be like, there's a foundation that is designed to protect my burial plot. And it'll be like armed guards 24/7. And they'll
Yeah,
just like beat protesters that break in to try to deface it.
wouldn't surprise me at
God.
all. But I think that's all I got. I think it was pretty
Yeah,
weak. It was mostly it's wild still, but it's some funny wild. Nothing too bad.
yeah, no, that's besides the possible threat of looming nuclear war, but that's too big to even think about. Just don't think
Yeah.
about that.
If it happens, it's only gonna be like one US city that gets rocked, and then we're gonna obliterate the rest of the world.
Yeah, I know, and you might want to hustle down here to North Carolina because I feel like the Northeast is obviously what makes sense.
Yeah, Philly is definitely. I don't know. I feel like New York is the obvious target, but because it's the obvious target, Philly is a better target. You know what I mean? Like if I was Russia, but I'm not trying to think about that anymore.
All right, buddy. Good times.
Have a good week. We'll see you next week on the week you missed. Love you.